Good evening. Hello. I am Allison Heimer on behalf of the New Haven Democracy Fund. Welcome to the 2025 New Haven mayoral debate. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. For those of you who don't know, the New Haven Democracy Fund is a public campaign finance program that has been around for almost 20 years at this point. And it is one of the requirements of participating in the program that members who receive any funding must participate in a public forum or debate. Justin Elicker is the candidate who is participating this year. Steve Orosco is the opponent who is still welcome to participate in the debate. And we are happy and thrilled to have you all here. Our moderator this evening is going to be Tom Breen from the New Haven Independent. And before I just pass it over to him, I do want to recognize my board members who are here. If they're around and want to stand up quickly, that would be great. There's Sarah Fika, Jim O'Connell, Leslie Heffel-McGurk, and Aaron Good. And then there are a number of elected officials here that I have seen. I see Alder Marchand. I see Registrar of Voters. I see other people. they're spotting around. So thank you all for being here. And I hope you all enjoy.
Thank you very much, Allie. And thank you to the Democracy Fund for hosting the debate. Thank you to Co-op for opening the building. A shout out to Alder Troy Streeter, who I saw is also here. Thank you, Alder Streeter. And yes, so we are going to try to get you out of here by 8:30 at the absolute latest, but this will probably go an hour and 10 minutes. We're going to start with 90-second opening remarks from the two candidates. Mayor Elicker won the coin toss, elected to go second, so Republican challenger Steve Orosco is going to give first remarks. But first, I'm just going to pass the mic down quickly to my fellow panelists who will be asking questions. Just to introduce yourself, so I'm Tom Breen, I'm the editor of the New Haven Independent. I'll be moderating, asking questions, and enforcing the time limits.
Thank you. I'm Babs Rawls-Ivy, editor-in-chief of the Inner City newspaper and host of Up Early with Love Babs Love Talk on 103.5 WNHH.
My name is Norma Rodriguez Reyes, and I'm with La Voz Hispana de Connecticut, Connecticut's largest and most respected Spanish language newspaper. And I am also the co-host of Que Pasa Radio on 103.5 FM LP.
And my name is Vinny Penn. I'm with iHeartRadio. I'm from 960 WELI, but also News Radio 1410 WPOP out of Hartford. And I'm very excited that Babs brought the Altoids. They're necessary, despite the fact that these gentlemen are all the way over there. And let's get to it.
Okay, and since we've got two mics, how about Babs and I will share this mic, and Vinny and Norma, I'll ask you to share that. And let's kick it off. So Steve Orosco, the Republican and Independent Party candidate for mayor this year, you've got 90 seconds for opening remarks, and the clock starts now. Go for it.
First of all, thank you for everybody for joining us tonight. This will be hopefully a great evening. For those of you who don't know, I lived in New Haven for about a decade in the 2000s. And me and my wife, we moved to Los Angeles for another 10 years, trying to start a new life. When my son turned 4, we said to ourselves, where do we want to raise our family? And we decided, let's go back to New Haven, where my wife was born and raised, where her family is from, where education, I thought, was great, where I thought the streets were safe. When we moved back, I realized all that was wrong. And I sit here today, and as I've been campaigning, I've realized that the city is falling apart. Crime is through the roof, the streets aren't safe, our education is falling apart. We're short in every single department. Yet our taxes keep on going up, the budget keeps on going up, but our city services continue to decrease, which means we're paying more for less. And I look back at a lot of Elicker's promises over the last 6 years, and he's failed at a lot of them. Failed to secure the right amount of money from Yale.
10 seconds.
He failed to fully staff the police. He promised community policing. And the longer this goes, the more this city will deteriorate.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, Justin, you've got 90 seconds, starting now.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to represent this city for the last 5.5 years. And while we look at our city and compare it to what's going on in our nation, I feel like our nation is falling apart. And I hope that you share this view with me that our city has been led with a steady hand, and we are making so much progress on the many challenges that we face. We've created thousands of new housing units in our city, with a huge percentage of them affordable. We've stabilized our finances in the city. Rating agencies have increased our ratings consistently over these past 5 years. We have seen in the last decade, our shootings are the lowest that they have been in the last decade. We had a challenging weekend and we have more work to do there, but we are seeing progress on crime. We are seeing progress on our education since COVID. Absenteeism is down, and our math and reading scores are steadily improving because of the work that we are doing in our school system. Our streets are safer for bicyclists and pedestrians, because we are implementing traffic calming and more law enforcement to make sure that drivers are following the law. And we are the pizza capital, party capital of the nation. We are making incredible progress, and I hope that what you have seen is that I've always been honest with you. I've always been straightforward about our challenges, and I try to be everywhere in this city representing everyone so that we can be a city where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
And that's 90 seconds. Okay. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Justin, for opening remarks. All right, and now we're going to move to the question and answer portion. We're going to go down the line, taking turns asking questions. We're going to start with Babs. Each candidate will get a minute to respond. He will ask since Steve gave the first opening remarks, we will ask the first question of Justin, so he'll have a minute to respond, and then Steve will have a minute to respond. And then 3 times over the course of the debate, you'll get a 30-second rebuttal if you want to wait. So Justin, you'll have a minute to respond to this first question coming from Babs.
Thank you. So I was thinking about this a lot, and I know it's going to get heated, and I hope that people will err on the side of civility, which seems to be lacking. And so I hope that people will be respectful of one another, even if you have a differing of opinion of what you hear. Let us all act as though this is church or synagogue or the mosque. Let us put ourselves in that space so that we give these folks opportunity to say what they need to say in a respectful environment. So with that said, here's my question before we get, heated. Tell me what is good about New Haven. Tell me what you like, admire, and love about New Haven. And every answer from this point on, whatever they ask you, I want you to remember that answer and center that love, feeling, desire, welcoming for this city in those answers. Okay? Thank you.
Justin, you've got 60 seconds.
Sure, and just real quick, I'm sure both the other candidate and I appreciate cheers, but I'd ask my supporters, please do not boo the other candidate, and just be respectful, thank you. I love the people. I love the people of this city. We are the most welcoming city, I think, in our nation, and we really pride ourselves in making sure that we welcome everyone, no matter what you look like, what your document status is, what your economic situation is. Doesn't make a difference. No matter who you love, you are welcome in our city. And I think that makes us an incredible city that welcomes even more people, because people want to be a part of a thriving community that helps us with so many cultural assets, that helps us be strong and support each other, that helps us have schools that are vibrant because we welcome and support everyone, no matter who they are in our schools. And this is something that I think, particularly at this moment where our nation's leadership is trying to divide us, that we should feel proud of about our city.
Okay, Steve, you've got 60 seconds.
I also love this city, and there's a lot of beautiful things about it. One of my favorites is the fact that we are very diverse. The fact that there's so many traditions and heritage that keeps the city alive, which is one of the main reasons why we moved here. I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people in this city, going to many places that the mayor has not gone to or will not go to, and I challenge him to come with me during this campaign. Places like Arthur and Lamberton, the Exchange and Lloyd, Level and Lodge, Walking Westville Manor, Star and Shelton, and I see these dilapidated conditions and I just figure, what are we doing in this city? We care about diversity, but are we including everyone? We're building a castle surrounded by collapse in this city, where Yale is completely taken over.
10 seconds.
And this has to change, and someone has to step to the plate and force it. And this is why I'm running for mayor, because I do not want to see the city collapse, because at this point,
That's a minute. You can finish your sentence.
at this point, the business model of New Haven is not sustainable.
Thank you, Steve. And I think we might do a minute and a half to respond. I think a minute's a little tight. So let's do it in a second. So Norma, you're up. And so this question will be for Steve to respond to first, from Norma Rodriguez.
Okay. What is your response to the Trump administration mobilization of ICE to increase detention and deportation of undocumented immigrants, including New Haven residents? And what can and should the city do, if anything, in response?
So let's do 90 seconds, Steve, and we'll do 90-second answers from now on. So
Yes.
starting now.
So for the record, I am pro-immigration. You know, my father came here from Trinidad, and that's what makes America a beautiful thing. Now, as you know, federal law always supersedes local law. So there's not much you can do as a local municipality if ICE or ATF or FBI or DEA come into your city. Now, the reason why ICE should not be an issue anymore, and we shouldn't be talking about Trump, is because now ICE requires a judicial warrant to be served, where previously it was an administrative warrant, which meant the warrant was signed off by an internal supervisor. Now it has to be signed off by a federal judge. So now we have due process. So moving forward, I truly believe that ICE should not be an issue.
Justin, you've got 90 seconds to finish.
So that is false. That is false. ICE is overwhelmingly arresting people with administrative warrants or no warrant whatsoever. And we need to be a city that stands up for supporting people that are productive members of our community. And let's be clear, if someone is a violent person, we do not want that person, no matter who they are, in our community, and we have a track record of holding people accountable. Estras, a high school student, an 18-year-old kid at Wilbur-Cross High School, ICE arrested this young person who had good grades, was a productive member of our community, and our community came together to fight for his freedom. He is now back in our public schools because he was a good kid that had hope in our community. We should not be spending our resources focusing on people that are doing nothing wrong and are productive members in our community. We've got a lot of challenges in our city. We got a lot of challenges, and we need to focus on the violent folks in our community and hold them accountable instead of doing the job of the federal government, which Donald Trump is trying to force us to do.
Thank you very much. All right.
30 seconds.
Vinny?
Do I get 30 seconds?
You can, if you like. Yeah, so this will be the first of your 3 30-second rebuttals. So, go for it.
In response to Elicker, you know, focusing on violent criminals is very important. He failed to recognize the victim at the Fort Hale rape that happened recently, which is the direct result of having soft borders, which is why we need to take these people off of the streets. You can't just come over the border, rape someone, go to another state, and do it again. And what I am insulted by is Elicker's WTNH interview where he tries to deflect and say, oh, but he lived in West Haven, instead of
And that's 30 seconds.
focusing on the issue at hand, which is the person who committed this crime.
I'd like to use one of my 30 seconds.
So, Justin, you used your first 30-second rebuttal.
So the guy that he's talking about sexually assaulted someone in Texas that is clearly not a sanctuary state. Texas deported the guy and he came back in. We caught him in New Haven. Let's be clear, New Haven arrested this guy, not Texas. So to paint this, and this is such a frustrating thing about some of the right-wing folks here, to paint this as the city of New Haven somehow is not holding people accountable and attracting violent criminals, it's just false. Texas did not arrest this person and hold them accountable. New Haven held this person accountable.
Thank you very much. Okay, Vinny, it's your turn. And I believe you were asking Justin. Horrific.
Okay, tough to move on from that, to just move on from that. Mayor, in your opening remarks, you stated, as you have stated before, that our streets are safer, which I do struggle with. I struggle with believing that. I don't care about compared to 2018. I don't care about compared to 2022. On this very street, I used to take the bus to this very street when I was 12 years old and walk it alone. I realize those are the days of yesteryear. My 19-year-old was on this very street in August, saw a show at the College Street Music Hall, and when he came out, there was a shootout. It was videotaped, it was circulated, he was terrified, his girlfriend was terrified. They don't want to come down here anymore. I don't know what the problem is, being fully respectful here with you and even the governor with just saying crime is, I don't care about up, I don't care about down. It is very real and something that we need to get a handle on in New Haven, and what are we doing about that?
So I care about crime being down, and that's one of the most important jobs I have as mayor. And you're right, Dylan Cornelius was shot and killed downtown, and we've arrested 3 people that were involved in that incident. And we have increased our ability to hold people accountable in our city. I care about the numbers, just like I care about all the people that are impacted by crime. We lost a young boy, 15 years old, this past weekend. I was talking with his grandmother just yesterday. Caden Phillips, a young kid that had his whole life ahead of him. And so I care about the numbers and our multi-pronged approach with a new contract, attracting more officers and keeping officers, retaining officers in our force, with technology that has new cameras that are helping us solve crimes and hold people accountable, with violence interruption programs to help prevent retaliation from happening in our community, with investment in our youth, like Youth at Work and other youth programs to help our youth stay on the right track. Our multi-pronged approach is working. It doesn't mean that there is no crime in New Haven. It doesn't mean that we don't have more work to do. And it doesn't mean that there aren't people like this young boy that was killed this past weekend and his family that are hurting. We have a lot more work to do here, but we are making progress.
Thank you very much. Steve, you've got 90 seconds.
How do you expect to eliminate crime when you defund the police? 500 surveillance cameras do not replace police officers. And that's the problem. I feel like everything is a Band-Aid and we're not attacking the root of the problem. You can't have a city that's already violent in the first place not have enough police officers to enforce. We have had about over 11 homicides under Elicker's watch. Do I blame him for all of them? No. But this is the direct result of, again, defunding the police and not having enough people on the streets. My job when I become mayor is to fully fund the police at all costs. That's the most important thing for society to thrive. That's federal grants, the DOJ COPS grant. So when I do become mayor, again, I will fully staff the police.
Thank you very much, Steve. All right, now it is my turn, and I'm going to be asking Steve to answer first, and then Justin, and this question's about public education and the New Haven Public Schools. Steve, I'd love to hear just your vision for public education in New Haven. If you were elected mayor, you would sit on the Board of Education as a voting member. What would you like to accomplish? What do you think a thriving public education system in New Haven looks like? And how specifically would you get there? And then Justin, since you have been mayor for nearly 6 years and been on the Board of Education the entire time, picked a current superintendent, all of the appointed Board of Education members were appointed by you. I'd love to hear from you. Has the public school system improved under your leadership? And if elected to another term, what would you look to accomplish? But Steve, first, what is your vision for public education in New Haven? You've got 90 seconds.
Everyone in this room knows that New Haven public school system is failing our children. Now, for those of you who don't know, again, the mayor is on the Board of Education. He also gets to appoint 4 people, so he gets to stack it. There's a reason why 4 out of the 7 people on the board all go to Yale. When I become mayor, I will relinquish my power back to the people of the city and remove myself from the board as well as appointees in the future. And this is just a big problem. If we were a thriving educational system, this would be a different conversation. But our kids can't read, our kids can't do math. So at some point, we need to change the whole entire curriculum, and it starts with making the Board of Education fully elected by you, the taxpayer.
Thank you very much. Justin, you've got 90 seconds.
Yeah, so no one on the Board of Education goes to Yale, so I'm not sure what that was about. And taking yourself off the Board of Education relinquishes all of your influence on a system that really needs our help and support. You asked a question about, are the schools better or worse today? And the answer is complicated, right? You think about what I inherited. The city had gone through 4 superintendents in 4 years, and then I took over as mayor. The Board of Education, when I took over, was fighting with each other and totally dysfunctional. And so from that perspective, we dramatically improved. We have a superintendent that is solid, that is wise, that is implementing the science of reading, that is holding people accountable under incredibly difficult circumstances with lack of resources. But at the same time, our students' test scores are not where they were before the pandemic. And that is the same across the entire country. That's the same across the entire country. What's important is what we do about it. We've seen absenteeism rates go down by over 5%. Our reading and math scores are continuing to improve. I have increased funding with the partnership of the Board of Aldership by over 50% in these past 5 years. The Board of Education is getting around $25 million more annually, and many of us went to the Capitol to fight for more funding for education. Hundreds of students and teachers. I didn't see my opponent once lift a finger to try to help our schools get more funding. This is personal to me. My 2 children, my wife and my 2 children go to New Haven Public Schools, and we see every day the hard work that our teachers are doing, but also the challenges with resources. We've got a lot more work to do, but this is something that's deeply important to me.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, Dan?
I'm gonna use my another 30 seconds, why not?
Got it.
Is that-
Second, 30 seconds.
Yeah, because education is really important to me. Along with, because I feel like I didn't get enough time, along with the Board of Education, I also want to audit the Board of Education. I think we need to know where all this money is going. There shouldn't be a $23 million shortfall. Our kids shouldn't be suffering. Yes. Our schools are falling apart. Molds, faulty ceilings, electrical. These things have to change. It's going to cost almost $450 million to fix all of these schools. How are we going to fund that? Based on what's been happening in the city from an audit standpoint. So when I do come in, I will audit the city.
My question is a housing question. I live in the poorest, heavily surveilled neighborhood in this city, Newhallville. And I can tell you it is one of the most vibrant and resilient neighborhoods in this country. Yes. So I understand all our hearts are broken in New Haven because one of our own has been killed. And everybody in that community heart is breaking. Trust and believe that. My question is, what I'm concerned about, and I know people are concerned about in my neighborhood because I talk to them, that the texture and the tone of the neighborhood changes because people won't be able to afford to buy the houses that they grew up in or they remember. What can we do what are your policies around expanding, creating, building upon real affordable housing and experimental housing, like tiny houses and things like that. We just had a whole conference of Not in My Backyard, and they had some very innovative things to say about housing. And I just want to hear your thoughts on your policies or things that you could bring to this city to make affordable housing for this community, for these communities.
And who do you want to answer the question first?
Mayor.
Okay, so Justin first.
Sure,
And then
this is one of our top priorities, and we've had incredible success. And like a lot of things, we have more work to do. We've brought over 5,200 renovated new units online in these past 5 years, including 2,000 of those affordable and deeply affordable, which I think is a really important point that you made, Babs, is that affordable doesn't mean affordable to everyone. We've got 6,000 more units in the pipeline. This is a crisis in our state, and New Haven is really leaning into this challenge. And we're also adopting other strategies. We have an inclusionary zoning order in the city, ordinance in the city that requires new developments to have a certain percentage of affordable housing, and we've seen some increase, particularly in smaller developments on that. We have a home ownership program where we have down payment assistance to people that are of a certain income level to help support more people owning homes in our city. In addition, your point about tiny homes, we have presented to the Board of Alders an accessory dwelling unit ordinance amendment. The Alders have implemented that partially with a home ownership requirement. We need more work to do there, and the Alders are reviewing our proposal to allow accessory dwelling units, which are effectively tiny homes, although it depends on how you define them in different places in the city. And so we are making a ton of progress in this area, and I think it's also important to focus on our existing housing stock because we have a lot of landlords that are abusive and don't take care of our tenants. And we have made incredible progress, increasing by 84% the number of people that have residential licensing permits now, and making sure that there are more fines for folks that do not fix their homes so that we can keep our tenants safe.
That's time. Thank you very much. Steve, you're up. 90 seconds.
I love how the mayor likes to blame and point fingers. Again, I've walked some of the worst streets in New Haven. Westville Manor is a great example. He talks about the underserved. He talks about Mandy and Ocean Management. But who are the biggest slumlords in New Haven? It's New Haven Housing Authority. I go to Westville Manor and I literally see mold on people's ceilings, dilapidated conditions that are absolutely egregious. So we need to get our own house in order and take care of the people that are hurting in the first place. Those people need to be taken care of more than, hey, let's build low-income housing. What about the people that are already there? On top of, we need to create jobs so people can afford their homes and can afford rents. As it sits right now, they're unaffordable. They're affordable for the Yale ecosystem to keep on building thousands of units so they can recruit more people to feed Yale, to feed New Haven. That's the direction of the city, and I wish the mayor would be honest about the vision of New Haven, which he is not. The vision is to grow Yale. That's why it's Yale New Haven. And at some point, if we don't put brakes on that, no one's going to be able to afford to live here as taxes keep on increasing time and time again.
Thank you, Steve. And then Justin, you're using your second to 30-second rebuttal. So you've got 30 seconds starting now.
Mr. Orosco claims that I'm blaming and pointing fingers. If you look at his Instagram post, every single Instagram post is about blaming and pointing fingers and negativity, and that is not what we need in the mayor. And by the way, Westville, we have partnered with the Housing Authority, which is a good city partner, to renovate significantly many units across the city. Most recently, McConaughey Terrace, Westville Manor, we have secured a significant amount of funding, and in the very near future, you will see that site be renovated as well.
It's on the list.
And that's it. Okay, thank you very much. And Norma, it's your turn, and ask a question and pick whoever you'd like to answer first.
Elicker first.
I went first last time.
What would you do and how would you respond if Trump sent the National Guards to New Haven as he's done in Chicago and DC?
So great question. National Guard is not needed nor welcome in New Haven. This is not how we use our National Guard. And we need to be clear about that. We do not need political stunts where the National Guard comes in for a few months and then leaves us just where we were before. And my opponents mentioned something about me defunding the police. Let's be clear. So first of all, we have dramatically increased police funding, and you can look at our budget and see that. But let's be clear, Donald Trump is defunding the police by attempting to cut funding for public safety in our city. And that is why we sued Donald Trump, and we have an injunction that prevents Donald Trump's administration from cutting public safety funding in our city. So we will fight to make sure that we focus on the issues that are important to us, and that is fighting crime instead of political stunts like sending the National Guard to cities.
Thank you very much, Justin. Steve, you've got 90 seconds.
As I mentioned in my opening statement, New Haven has the same homicide rate as Chicago per capita. We are a very dangerous city. Now, do I believe we need National Guard today? No, I do not. What we do need is to fully staff our police officers. When I say staff, I mean fully staffed, from top to bottom. And then we can do mutual aid agreements with someone like the state police. And then if we still need help, of course, then you call in the National Guard if we need to. So at some point, yes, National Guard could be needed if Mayor Elicker doesn't fix this city.
Thank you very much, Steve. Okay, Vinny, ask your question and then pick whoever you'd like to answer first.
Absolutely. We'll start with Steve, and this is a great place for me to pick up right where you left off. As far as the police are concerned, and even prior to Justin Elicker getting the gig, I've been on the air around here for many, many, many years. We've been understaffed for many years as far as the police are concerned. The recruitment efforts, we've come up empty-handed. There's billboards, some of it's kind of pathetic. It's signing bonuses, it's work 4 days a week, go to a gym on the 5th day. I took my daughter to a concert on this street on Saturday night. When we stepped out of the venue, there were just groups of guys smoking weed. One guy clearly had a gun jutting out of the back of his pants. There was one police officer, one. When I was on that street, again, yesteryear, the glorious mid-'80s, those cops shoved you along, moved you on, and all you were doing was trying to get a girl's phone number. So again, with all due respect, because even Mayor Elicker has tried to, nobody wants to be a police officer anymore. Since 2020, you got the choice between New Haven and Mystic. I'm taking Mystic, Connecticut. That's going to be a beautiful gig. How do we get people to want to be police officers in New Haven again?
Got 90 seconds, Steve.
Well, we know with police, it starts with the top. It starts with leadership. You have to have a mayor that fully supports and backs the police. You cannot defund them and then expect them to want to work for you. You can't have a understaffed police department who is overworked, has now low morale, and think that they're going to work hard, or think that they're going to apply to become police officers in New Haven. So I'm going to keep on drilling this point down about fully staffing the New Haven Police Department. And on top of that, I will make one requirement I want police officers to understand. I will require police officers to get their BJJ Blue Belt, because it's the most important de-escalation process there is. We will have a BJJ instructor, and to teach combatives, because listen, it only takes one lawsuit to destroy a city. When you have a jiu-jitsu instructor teaching these guys, the chances of having one of those lawsuits is very, very slim.
Thank you, Steve. Justin, you've got 90 seconds.
Yes, so the question is about how do you attract officers to the police force, and frankly, this is a challenge that communities around the nation have been struggling with since the murder of George Floyd. And we are seeing our numbers, come on, please. We're seeing our numbers significantly turn around because, number one, we're not bad-mouthing the city of New Haven at every turn like my opponent is. We are embracing the work that our officers are doing and celebrating the work that they are doing. Number two, we have dramatically increased their pay so that we are much more competitive compared to our counterparts. And we are seeing many few officers retire because of the contract and the way that we structured it so that there's incentive for the officers to stay on. And we're seeing the largest class that we have seen in 3 or 4 years recently because of this new contract. So we are seeing these numbers turn around. And frankly, there's a ton of people that want to work in New Haven for New Haven's police department. We have a chief that has really embraced community policing and what it truly means to be a community policing community. We have a chief that champions the work that our officers are doing and holds people accountable when there are issues. And we have a lot of upward mobility in our force so that our police officers that want to be in a community where they're actually seeing a lot of the challenges and dealing with them are part of the solution. I think positivity and incentives are the way that we're really drawing a lot more officers into the force.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, so we asked at the New Haven Independent, we asked readers and commenters to submit their own questions they'd like us to ask of the candidates. So I'm going to read one of the commenter submitted questions from a commenter named Morris Cove resident. So this question is going to go to Steve first, and then to Justin. And generally, it's about Tweed New Haven Airport. I'm going to ask Morris Cove resident's question first, and then I will hand the mic over to you. So Steve, Morris Cove resident, asks you in particular, please share your honest opinion about Avello and Breeze 737-800 planes flying in and out of a close-knit residential neighborhood, the Cove, Morris Cove, all hours of the night, morning. Do we have a noise ordinance in the city? What is it? The 800s are so loud and deafening to so many. What kickback is the city state receiving for allowing this? Are you in support of building the terminal on the East Haven side, even though Mayor Carfora isn't? What will you do to help the neighbors with this problem? So you've got 90 seconds to talk about increased air traffic out of Tweed, and also what you think should happen with the proposed expansion to the East Haven side. So 90 seconds on Tweed. Steve, it's all yours.
I've constantly said that we need to grow the economy in New Haven. That also includes Tweed. Now, to that person's point, Morris Cove resident, I am in the Cove. My in-laws actually live about 4 houses up from the airport. Some of these planes are so loud first thing in the morning that the house actually shakes. You can smell the gasoline in the air. All things that Mayor Elicker would know because he's not there experiencing it. And this is a problem. We have parking issues. The parking ordinances need to change where, number one, you need a parking pass, but more importantly, people are parking on streets and then going to the airport for weeks at a time. We have air quality problems already in our city. We have the highest asthma rates, poor air quality control, like I mentioned, and we have to address these things. Air purifiers, they give out to the first few houses. I think we need to expand that. We need to do whatever we possibly can so some of the money from Tweed trickles back to the actual neighborhood that it is affecting.
And since there's a little more time left on the clock, what do you think of the proposed construction of a new larger terminal on the East Haven side of the property?
Yeah, if we're going to expand it, it has to be on the East Haven side. If you've ever gone down to Burr Street in the Cove, where the turnabouts are, and you see how congested it is, that's not sustainable. You have to put it in an area where it can work.
Thank you very much. Okay, Justin, 90 seconds on Tweed, on your assessment of the current operations there, of how increased air traffic is affecting the neighborhood, and on the future potential larger terminal.
Sure.
On the East Haven side.
So the Tweed expansion has been a dramatic improvement for so many residents in the city. Every other day I run into someone that says that they have traveled Tweed for a low cost to somewhere that they love to go. At the same time, there's been certainly a lot of growing pains for the neighborhood, and it's a real challenge that we have dealt with head on. And it's still challenging for people in the community, but the noise issue, we have worked with Avello to limit the times that they land in the morning and they take off in the evening. We have facilitated, we've done the work to facilitate people having those air purifiers in their homes. And many residents now have those available to them because we have pushed Avports, the airline or the airport operator, to fund those. We've implemented a lot of traffic calming measures around Tweed Airport. We've implemented parking restriction zones. And I have been very vocal about moving the terminal to the more appropriate side because it's much more commercial traffic, the East Haven side. We still have more work to do there. We're not across the finish line, but that ultimately will be a huge improvement to all of the residents that live around the airport.
Thank you, Justin. Babs, you're up.
As you know, Steve, this question is for you. This president of these United States has gutted the arts community. And New Haven is a leader in artistic expression and artistic production. How do you propose to support and to continue to support arts in this community, in this city, as arts is a legitimate economic driver and a quality of life issue for people coming to the city and people that live in the city? How do you propose to support the artistic community here?
90 seconds, Steve. Go for it.
Yes. Listen, like I said, I'm a big fan of diversity and unity in arts. Music always brings people together. So I will support art as much as I possibly can. People want to put up murals, I will do that. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Justin, you've got 90 seconds.
So we have done a ton to support artists in our community, and artists and art is a way for us to connect with one another, to show each other's humanity, but also to push back against power. And we want to facilitate that in New Haven. It's also a way to make a living. And because of the work under Adrian Jefferson, our former Director of Cultural Affairs, who's awesome, you're right, and we're looking to hire someone new, we're pretty close to that. We have dramatically expanded our investment in the arts, and in particular in facilitating creatives that want to start their own businesses. So in partnership with the Community Foundation, we put millions of dollars into brown, black, and women-owned businesses that, including people that are from the arts. We've also facilitated a lot of events to help support small businesses like Black Wall Street, where we have a ton of artists that are selling their wares there. The night markets, the Grand Prix, so that we can help support these businesses not only with some seed funding, but actually with these venues where people can learn about their products and these businesses can help expand. We always have more work to do to support the arts, but I think that that's one thing that I feel ties back to that earlier question you asked about what we love about New Haven, the people. And seeing people through the arts, the way of expressing themselves, is something that I think is a beautiful thing that we need to do even more of in New Haven.
Thank you very much, Justin. Norma, you're up. Ask a question and pick who you'd like to answer first.
Okay. This question is from Ian Chrisman, and saying, we're seeing a downward downshift in the rate of home ownership throughout the city. Investors, of which many live out of town, are buying up many multifamily properties as possible. The state of Connecticut's home ownership rate sits around 70%, while New Haven's ownership occupied rate is around 28% and has been declining in the past 15 years. What can be done to boost up the owner-occupied rate of particularly multifamily homes, as more and more multifamily housing are being brought up by out-of-town investors and Wall Street? Many of these investors do the bare minimum and are the main strain on LCI.
Who do you want to answer that?
Steve?
Steve, you get 90 seconds.
So when it comes to housing, the biggest issue is our taxes continue to go up. So people can't afford their homes. So they leave vacant properties. We have over 500 vacant properties in the city of New Haven. Until we have an economic boom to offset that, the city can't thrive. So with that said, it's a big issue in our city, and it's one I want to attack because we are the only city on the entire eastern seaboard that hasn't built onto the water. We have English Station, we have Lighthouse Park, we have Long Wharf, we have a gorgeous city that has not grown, not even a little bit. Instead, the Yale ecosystem continues to grow, while the rest of the city continues to collapse.
Thank you, Steve. Justin, you've got 90 seconds on increasing home ownership.
Sure, I think the question was specifically about increasing home ownership, not about the city collapsing. And there's a number of things that we are doing to help support home ownership. I mentioned earlier on our down payment assistance program that helps people that are potentially homeowners but just don't have enough funding. And that has helped a lot of people buy new homes in the city. In addition, the Livable Cities Initiative implemented housing initiatives where they actually on vacant properties constructed new homes that are two-family homes where one of the units is a homeowner, and then they get that second income as a rental unit so that they can help pay for their mortgage. I think a lot of this is about jobs as well, because we want to make sure that people can have steady long-term jobs to help actually buy homes. And we have done a lot of work to expand our job opportunities in the city. In fact, New Haven is increasing our jobs at a rate faster than the state as well. We've created a land bank so that we can fight against those absentee landlords that are buying up these properties, and so that we actually, through the land bank, with $5 million from the state, can acquire these properties beforehand as well. And I'll mention about taxes. You know, this is a typical thing for people that run for mayor. They say, we should fully fund all the police and pay them as much as they need, but I'm not gonna tell you how to pay for it. I'll get some grants or something like that. Our taxes are high in the city. They're not as high as Hartford's, they're not as high as Waterbury's, Bridgeport's, West Haven's, Camden's, but they're high and we need to do work. We as a community have done work to dramatically increase pilot funding from the state and funding from Yale University so that our taxes didn't go through the roof.
That's
We got
fine.
more work to do there.
Thank you, Justin. All right, Vinny, you're up.
For the mayor, speaking of the housing crises, as it were, in New Haven, we snapped up, the city snapped up a motel on Route 80, where the Route 80 gang runs proud and strong, where the street takeovers take lives and take out legs, and these street takeovers have hundreds of thousands of views on social media. Police are seen smack dab in the middle of them and yet can't act on them. How do you speak to the purchasing of that hotel, the Days Inn? Was it a Days Inn? That is to cater to, we're being told, the homeless population. And the fact that it's on a street in New Haven that becomes East Haven that is fraught with gang violence and street takeovers.
So you said a lot there, Vinny.
Got 90 seconds.
So street takeovers, literally as we speak every day, they are constructing a change in the road to help prevent street takeovers that will include some speed bumps that will make it difficult for people to enjoy street takeovers there. You talked about the gang violence there. There was a federal grand jury that arrested a lot of the people that were involved in the Route 80 group that was involved in some of the violence, and we have seen a dramatic decrease in the activity in that area of the city. But you particularly asked about the shelter. We have 8 shelters in the city, spend $1.7 million of city funds to help support people that are unhoused, and I think that's something that we should be proud of. You used the word cater. I'm not sure as I would have chosen that word, but we need to support people that are struggling in our community. And we are doing that as a city. We are doing more than any other city in Connecticut. All that being said, we can't do it alone, and we need to expect our partners, including East Haven, to do more. I've been pushing for this, and we have seen some movement from our surrounding towns to help support. Hamden is open a warming shelter. West Haven is open a warming center. But in New Haven, I think that we should be doing what we can to help support people that are really struggling in our community now and helping them find a pathway towards long-term success.
Thank you, Justin. Steve, you've got 90 seconds on the hotel turned homeless shelter on Route 80.
So when it comes to homeless, we need to attack the roots, the problem. Now, when you're homeless, it could be a choice, a mental health illness, or more importantly, a substance abuse disorder. Now in New Haven, we have the most fentanyl overdoses in the entire state. We have the most fentanyl drug dealers. We also have the most methadone clinics, 6, which you do not need. This is a direct issue for homelessness, as 88% of all homelessness is caused from drug use. So until we attack that problem, homelessness isn't going to change. So what I want to do when I become mayor is we are going to build a fentanyl or narcotics task force, and we're going to attack the fentanyl crisis and get these drug dealers off the street so we can get people clean for the first time. I'm not done.
Sorry, my mistake. You still have 40 seconds.
So homelessness, as you know, in the last 2 years has quadrupled. Yes. From 200 and change to over 1,000. Westville Manor, great example I like to use because that was the one that really hit home the most. There's people living in tents in the woods. There's homeless encampments downtown on the green, which is supposed to be our shining star. And until we clean these streets via police is what we need, again, homelessness isn't going to change. You're just putting a Band-Aid on
10
everything
seconds.
instead of actually solving the root of the problem.
Thank you, Steve. Justin, this is your third and final 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, we have someone here that is saying homelessness is a problem. Homelessness is a choice. By the way, homelessness is not a choice. And I'm going to stop treating people for the main challenge that people are facing around substance use. by eliminating methadone clinics in our city. We need to make sure that people are accountable, and particularly the small group of people that are creating a lot of disruption in the city. But every one of us knows someone that's struggling with substance use. These are people that we care about and we love, and we need to make sure that we support them and treat them instead of treating them like some alien that is not a part of our community.
Thank you, Justin. Nobody said that. Okay, it is my turn to ask a question, and I'm going to ask Justin first, and then Steve. So again, Justin, you've been mayor for nearly 6 years. Tell us about a mistake you've made and what you've learned from it.
So I think over the last 5.5 years, I made a couple of mistakes, and those couple of mistakes that have bothered me a lot is not being present at certain really intense moments. I look back during the protests post George Floyd, and there were people 2 nights before a major protest in the city that came outside my house and protested and banged on my windows and doors and shouted at me when my 2 children and wife were inside. I went out and tried to speak with them, and they yelled at me, and I went back inside. And while I think what they did was totally inappropriate, they shouldn't be coming into my home, I should have stood there and talked with them and waited and had them scream at me until we actually calmed down and we could have a conversation. And in that moment, the moment was fresh in my mind when there were hundreds of people marching towards the police station. And I stayed inside the police station for a very long time. I don't think that was fair to the officers. And I should have gone out and talked to people earlier. And I've learned my lesson from that. And you can be sure that I show up at pretty much every protest and engage with people and talk through it and listen to people. And I think that's something that makes me a better mayor.
Thank you, Justin. Steve, you have run for office a number of times, for state senate and for alder. Tell us about a mistake you've made in your political life, campaigning for mayor, for previous offices, and what did you learn from that mistake?
Yeah. I first want to address the fact that Mayor Elicker wants to say that all I care about is talking about the problems of New Haven. Please understand something. My job as I'm campaigning is to show awareness of the city so people actually know what's going on. It's not me not saying I don't like the city. It's me trying to uncover the truth so people really know. Too many things have been swept under the rug for far too long. So for him to deflect and say that that's me saying I don't love the city is a complete, utter lie. Now let me get back to what you said about running for Senate. Yes, I ran for Senate against Martin Looney. He was elected in 1980 before I was even born. In a city that, at the time, was still ranked last in education, first in crime, highest taxes, highest poverty. And I said to myself, I'm so big on term limits, let's run against them. Now, when I ran, I wanted people to think I was qualified. So I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner, multiple startups, 2 master's degrees. Realizing nobody cares about that stuff. When I started walking the real streets of New Haven and people started finding out I was a fighter, that's when it started to be relatable. That's when I started earning the respect of the city, and that's what I'm running on. Fighter for New Haven.
Steve, Babs, let's go down the line one more time and ask a question, then I may ask some rapid fire questions at the end, but Babs, be your last question.
Yes. So Steve, beyond policing our way out of poor education, terrible housing, crime, what else, and Yale, policing our way out of Yale, crime, housing, education, unsafe streets, and something else. What would you do concretely to address these real systemic issues that you believe are plaguing our city?
You've got 90 seconds.
Yeah. I always find it funny that Democrats and progressives say, tax the rich. Meanwhile, Yale doesn't have to pay taxes, which completely destroys our city. They own 43% of the city. Based on the $4.4 billion in property, and the current mill rate, that equates to $173 million in taxes. How do you make up for that? You can't. So someone has to come in here and slow that down while building an economic boom. Yale is extremely wealthy, one of the most wealthy institutions in this entire country. Worth well over $100 billion. They own museums, patents, LLCs, healthcare, education, completely monopolized the city. They have built a castle surrounded by collapse. That's the system that is wrong with the city. When I come in, my job is to go after Yale as hard as I can. No different than the 2,000 people that just protested against Yale. And these are people who, there was alders that were there, union members, and activists who understand Yale is the biggest problem.
10 seconds.
The business model of Yale is not sustainable. What happens when they own 50% of the city? 55, 60, 70, then what? You can answer that question yourself.
Thank you very much. Justin.
So the question is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And I marched with that 2,000 people that were demanding more for Yale. And looking at this room, I see a lot of people here that have actually fought the good fight to push Yale to do more and actually gotten results. So you're not going to find any disagreement by, I think, most people in this room that Yale should be doing more. But the question is, how do you get Yale to do more? And we do that by holding Yale accountable, pushing them, and actually working as a community, as a team to do this. And the people in this room know this. I'm seeing nodding heads because it takes a lot of work. And I have been mayor for almost 6 years, and I've been way involved before that. I've gone to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings, and I have seen Mr. Orosco once over more than a decade of heavy involvement in the city. And that one time when he was running for office and he was outside the polls, running against Martin Luther. We need someone that doesn't just run for office all the time. We might need someone that does, and that's what I am.
Thank you, Justin. All right, Norma, your final question. Feel free to ask and then pick who you'd like to answer first.
I'm an editor.
Okay.
Just editing it. So she don't have to read this whole thing.
This question comes from Tommy Branford, I think. And this was from Mayor Elicker. Does manufacturing have a place in New Haven, according to Bab's edit? No, it says, Mayor Elicker, over the last 4 years, how many manufacturing companies have you or members of your administration met with to encourage those businesses to establish a facility in New Haven? And how many of those businesses were data center developers or natural gas, nuclear, electricity producers?
You see why I edited that?
It's a very, very specific question.
90 seconds.
And we've met with a number of companies to try to attract them to New Haven. And frankly, expanded some of the work in manufacturing. Marshall LaFemina has started an initiative where she supports New Haven residents getting trained on manufacturing jobs in the city. And we're doing what's more important, work on creating a vocational school. The vision is to have it at the Armory. We've just received from the state over $6 million to help renovate the Armory and create a vocational technical school at that site so our children can have more support there. In addition, in our existing schools, particularly Hill House, we have manufacturing training so our children can start to get these advanced manufacturing jobs that are expanding in the region.
Thank you, Justin. Steve, got 90 seconds to talk about attracting manufacturing jobs to New Haven or the role you see manufacturing playing in New Haven's government. 90 seconds.
Well, in a city that desperately needs jobs, we know that the only anti-poverty program that's ever worked in America are jobs. Mayor Elicker is more focused on nonprofits and more parks. Prime example, English Station has been at the forefront. 8-acre property. He wants to remediate and turn into a park. A park that we don't even have enough parks and recs to take care of in the first place. A park that's gonna cost tens of millions of dollars to fix. When in fact, you could turn that into manufacturing and create jobs for those in Fairhaven that are in need. So when Mayor Elicker keeps on talking about, oh, I want to build this and build that, that's not true. It doesn't have to do with Yale. He's not going to build it.
Well, 30 seconds.
You've used all
I'm
30
out.
seconds, so there's
All
a
right.
2-minute closer, so if you want to address anything there, you can. All right, Vinny, your final question tonight.
Well, I might afford you the opportunity right now to discuss the English Station Mill River Park. You had expressed a frustration when the governor's budget excluded or left out, however best to put it, education in such a way that we had to close down an actual school in New Haven because he's got such a focus on kids starting school at like a year and a half old. That said, you were forced to close the school, which is awful, but at the same time, we have this money to turn a contaminated industrial site into a water park that I can't see anyone frequenting, but what do I know? But I do hear from firefighters often on my radio show who say this was a place that they were told never to park their vehicles, never to step upon, and I don't know how it's going to become the new Six Flags and where the money comes from. To be honest, where the money comes from.
All right, Justin, you've got 90 seconds on.
The question is where the money.
And on the English Station plan. you
Right, which is
proposed-
probably two totally different places, but you're closing a school here, and it's
Right,
probably a
so-
simple explanation, and yet quite a dollar sign for this water park.
Right,
That
so
nobody really.
So first of all, we can walk and chew
can
gum at the
survive,
same
I
time.
think.
The state needs to do more to fund our schools. And we need to make sure that we address an eyesore in our community that's a polluted site that's been there for decades and has had, until just recently, no plan. And by the way, I appreciate the Six Flags reference, but this is about making sure that young children in our community can swim and survive. And us having more opportunities for our young people to have pools where they can be taught to swim is critical, because particularly Black and brown students are much more likely to die if they're in the water because they do not. Come on, folks. Come on. But so it will be safe because we will cap the site and ensure that it's. I mean, there's a lot of regulation around this site. But I think more importantly, what is critical, and Mr. Orosco said this himself, is that we need to continue to make New Haven a beautiful place, embrace our waterfront, and make it a place where people want to live. People don't want to live next to an empty, old, dilapidated power plant. People want to live in a place, including people that exist in our community, where they can connect with one another in parks, where they can thrive. And this type of development, in addition to the Long Wharf development that we have, will drive
10
more
seconds.
housing development in our city along the waterfront that will help us address the affordable housing crisis and continue to make New Haven a place where people live healthier lives and thrive in our community.
That's done. Okay, thank you very much, Justin. And Steve, you've got 90 seconds on English Station and the proposal to turn it into
Definitely a cop-out
park.
of definitely a cop-out of an answer of the Black and brown communities and the ability to swim. We have community pools already in the city. You're telling me kids are gonna come from the Ville and the Hill and Westville Manor all the way to Fairhaven to use a pool? You know that's not true. And this is the stuff that really infuriates me. Instead of being honest and saying, yeah, we're gonna build out this big park, so it's beautiful to feed the downtown and East Rock and Yale ecosystem. English Station could be a beautiful place and a revenue generating machine. The only thing that the mayor should be doing right now is, how do I create more revenue for a city that is failing so we can fund all of our staff? The quality of life in New Haven outside of the East Rock and downtown Castle is falling apart. We need to create jobs. And I hate to have to keep on going back and fighting against Yale, but it's the only option that's on the table right now that we can do. How do you do it? Because he keeps on saying, oh, what are you gonna do about Yale? Yale owns $4.4 billion in property. How much of that is for educational use?
10 seconds.
When I become mayor, I will reassess every single one of those properties to uncover which ones are mixed use and which ones are not.
Yeah.
We will do a split assessment to make sure we uncover tens of millions of dollars. And then we do an
That's time.
annual review and publish the results and continue to do
Please
so.
finish it up. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. And thank you, panelists. Okay, so we have 2-minute closers, so each of you will get 2 minutes to address the audience. Since Steve went first for the openers, we will have him go second, Justin go first. But before that, I'm going to take my moderator's prerogative and ask a few rapid-fire questions of just looking for yes or no answers or very brief 1-word or 2-word answers. Okay, so Chapel Street between College and York Street, it's currently one-way. Should it be converted to two-way traffic? Justin first and then Steve.
Yes.
No.
The governor has floated the idea of Connecticut's pension fund investing in a minority share of the Connecticut Sun WNBA basketball team. Do you think that's a good idea? Steve first and then Justin.
Absolutely not.
No.
Zoran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, or Curtis Sliwa for mayor of New York City. Justin first and then Steve.
Ron Domney.
So you're saying you want a socialist
Whoa,
city?
hey, whoa. The rule is you got to answer the question. So,
Curtis.
So Sliwa. Okay. And should New Haven Public Schools release a line-by-line budget for the current fiscal year? Steve and then Justin.
1,000%.
Yes. And my last rapid-fire question is, if you see one of those spotted lanternflies on the street, the new invasive species, do you crush it or let it fly away? Justin and then Steve.
I try to crush them all the time, frankly.
Guilty of letting them fly away.
You survived
Sorry.
the rapid-fire question. Thank you for indulging me on that. All right, Justin, you've got 2 minutes to close, and then Steve, you've got 2 minutes as well.
So I love this city, and I want to say, first of all, thank you. Can we just, thank you to Democracy Fund for hosting this debate. I'm a big believer in the Democracy Fund, and I have, every time I've run for mayor, participated in the Democracy Fund, limited my contributions, and not taken PAC money and not taken $1,000 donations from people that want to influence this city. And I think this city is a better place because of the Democracy Fund, and I will continue to participate in it. And thank you to the moderators. I know you all care a lot about our city. I love this city. And if you ask my wife, this is a tough job, and she knows this because she's got a real tough time as well. It puts a lot of pressure on our family, but I do it because I love the people in this city. I love confronting challenges that have been vexing us for decades and decades and decades, and being able to overcome them. The fact that we work together to confront this challenge that we have talked about for decades, about the state not fully funding pilot, and now the state gives us over $100 million annually instead of what they did before, $40 million annually. That's a huge, huge change for our city. The fact that Yale University for years and years and years gave us a few $1 million, it went up to 10 million, finally 13 million. And then all of a sudden, when I got elected, we worked together as a community and pushed them, and now they're giving $24 million to our community to help us address the budget challenges. The fact that we have had Tweed New Haven Airport that's been languishing for decades and decades and now is a thriving institution. The fact that we have so many more housing units. These things take work. They take work, they take someone that has a plan and that executes on the plan. And I have been very clear about my positions on things. I have been very straightforward with you about what I care about. And I believe that the values of our city are one that we, in particular at this time where our nation is falling apart, need to strive to continue to hold dear. And I hope that you give me this opportunity to continue to lead this city and continue to be your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Steve, you've got 2 minutes.
Again, thank you for everybody for coming. I'm sorry I didn't take out the mic the first time. I didn't realize it came out of the stand. The mayor has had 6 years to fix all the things he spoke about tonight, and he hasn't done any of it. We have a shortage in every department. That's what you have to start with. He goes on to talk about things that are almost irrelevant. If you can't keep the city safe, a community can't thrive. If you can't keep the streets clean, a community can't thrive. If you keep on taxing your residents to death, they're going to continue to move out. You can't keep the streets safe. When I say safe, meaning the streets that matter, the forgotten part of New Haven, Fairhaven, Westville, the Hill, the areas that are getting squeezed outside of the Yale Castle. Why do you think crime is going up in Hamden? Because the Ville is trickling in. Why is crime going into East Haven? Because of Fairhaven. Why is crime trickling to the other side in West Haven? Because the Hill and these impoverished communities are getting squeezed out. I've mentioned before, I've been on all these worst corners of the city, and they're deplorable. They need to be taken care of. He forgets about all of these low-income homes that are struggling, where there's mold in the ceiling. Where is the compassion for those people? So you have a choice today, or on November 4th. You're gonna vote for the person that's gonna keep on feeding Yale, or the person that actually wants to grow this city and treat this city like a business. Grow Long Wharf, the only city on the Eastern Seaboard that hasn't been grown. We have
10 seconds.
so many different areas for improvement. Mill River District, Lighthouse Park has a boardwalk. We should be the Boston of Massachusetts. We should be the New York City of New York.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve. Thank you, Justin Elicker, Steve Orosco, for participating in the debate. Election Day is November 4th. Early voting starts on October 20th. Thank you, Babs, Norma, and Vinny, and the Democracy Fund and Co-op. Have a great night, and go vote. Thanks, everyone.